Indian motorcycles. Sounds very desi, right? But what if I tell you that it comes from the land of tariffs? Yes, USA. In fact, it is a brand which is older than Harley Davidson. Indian motorcycle made its debut in India over a decade back. It had a good start in the Indian market, but just like Harley Davidson, it also faded away from India. But now it is making a comeback under its parent company Polaris. What we are riding today is the new Scout Sport. Unlike the older Scout, the new Scout is available in multiple variants and trims. So is the new Scout Sport impressive or not? Let's find out. The new Scout has the basic silhouette of its predecessor, and that isn't a bad thing. However, the Scout Sport is the most distinctive of all the variants, and that's down to the headlight cowl and the large front wheel. The headlight cowl is big and has a dual tone finish with a transparent visor. Personally, the cowl gives the bike a very 80s and early 90s vibe, which I think is cool. And it also makes the bike look bigger. Moving forward, the iconic fuel tank shape is very pretty, and in this blue shade of our media unit, even more so. The chopped fenders look cool. But on wet roads, I was drenched from the rear with the spray from the tarmac. The other noticeable design details are the alloy wheel design, which looks like the one seen on custom bike from early 2000s, and the large exhaust muffler. Moving on to features, our trim features the semi-digital instrument console, and the top-end trim gets a TFT unit. The small display gives you details like range, real-time fuel efficiency, ride modes, TC settings, and more. The Scout also gets cruise control, which is useful while touring, but the bike misses out on navigation or Bluetooth connectivity in this trim. Switchgear quality feels solid, and even the overall build quality looked premium, which it should at this price point. The most impressive bit of this motorcycle for me personally is the V-twin engine, which offers you dollops of torque. This motorcycle literally glides in city speeds and feels very easy to ride. The other aspect is when you switch to sport mode, go hard on the throttle, the wave of torque turns into a tsunami because this motorcycle is properly quick. Also, it is very versatile because when you hit the highway, you can do speeds around 120 kph rather easily. There's hardly any vibrations. But the only issue is wind blast and ergonomics. But on ergonomics, I'll talk about it later. But it isn't perfect. Yes, the gear shift quality is very good, but the clutch action is on the heavier side. So in stop and go traffic, your left hand will get a proper workout. But the biggest issue on this motorcycle is the fueling. I don't know whether it is specific to this media unit, but the throttle felt very laggy. I was taking a U-turn and there was no power coming through, and suddenly the power kicked in, and that was scary. It kind of reminded me of those old school performance turbo engines. So in terms of throttle calibration, it could have been better. The laggy throttle kind of leaves you with a wooden feeling, and you don't know when the power will kick in. So I think this could be an issue on this motorcycle, but overall the engine of this motorcycle offers you good performance, is very refined, very tractable. And kitna deti hai? Well, you don't buy this motorcycle for fuel efficiency, but in our test runs, the Indian Scout Sport delivered around 15 kmpl, which given the displacement and performance is good. And before I proceed further, let's check out how does this V-twin engine sounds like. And now let's check out the ergonomics of the Scout Sport. First thing, the seat height. It is among the lowest seat height motorcycle that I have tested, just 680 mm. For reference, the Govan Classic 350 is 750 mm. So as you can see, yeah, I can easily flat foot. That's not an issue. I am 5'10", weigh around 100 kg, but even for shorter riders, the seat height, again, not an issue. Now let's move on to the ergonomics aspect. You get a nice raised handlebar which curves back a bit. It's not like a proper ape angle handlebar, but it is raised. So the riding posture, you can see the foot peg is front set. It's not completely forward set, but it is over there. So the riding posture, as you can see, is very relaxed and like a typical cruiser. What I didn't like personally is the handlebar position, because I think it's a bit too far. It should have been a bit closer to me, because even for my height, as you can see, my hand is almost straight. It's not very relaxed. So the riding posture could have been better. Now talking about the foot peg position, you also get this accessory where you can properly stretch out your legs and chill when you want to ride this motorcycle. So the riding ergonomics on the lower aspect is good, but on the handlebar could have been slightly closer to the rider, because if you're on the shorter end, again, that could be an issue. Another issue is the weight of the motorcycle, 248 kg. So if you want to push this bike around the parking lot, yeah, you will need some muscle. On that note, the Royal Enfield Classic 650 is just 5 kgs lighter than this motorcycle. Now you will be asking, why am I mentioning Royal Enfield? Because this is an Indian. So Indian का तो बात बनता है ना, India represent. With just 76 mm of suspension travel at the rear, I was prepared for my back to get spondylitis post the ride and the shoot. Surprisingly, that wasn't the case. Okay, the Scout didn't glide over potholes and bad roads, but the ride quality wasn't as stiff as I was expecting it to be. Yes, on sharp bumps, you do get tossed, but on most of the broken roads, the ride quality was firm but under control. And the low ground clearance also means that on small and tall speed bumps, the bottom did get grounded once. Despite its weight, the Indian Scout is easy to maneuver, and taking U-turns or cutting through traffic doesn't take much effort. The sport variant gets the larger wheel for added stability while cornering fast or cruising at highway speeds. What I didn't appreciate at all on the Scout are its brakes. The stopping power is lacking due to very weak bite, and there is no feel through the lever for you to modulate braking. Given the performance on tap, the stopping power feels inadequate on the Scout Sport. So time for verdict, but at the time of shooting this video, we don't have the pricing for the new Indian Scout Sport. But let me be clear, this won't be cheap by any means. This will be a premium motorcycle. But what is the pricing? I'll mention in the description once the video goes live. Now coming back to the motorcycle, the Indian Scout, yes, it is impressive for what it is. The engine for me is the highlight. Yes, the throttle is laggy, but that could be an issue on this motorcycle. Apart from that, the visual appeal of this motorcycle is good. Not a big fan of that cowl, but you also have multiple variants to pick and choose from. So if you wanted an American cruiser, didn't want a typical Harley Davidson, yes, the Scout makes good sense. But do these motorcycles have a market? Now that's a bigger question, because as you can see, a lot of big bike owners have shifted to nakeds and adventure tourers. So whether or not a cruiser still makes sense is up for debate. But for what it offers, the Indian Scout is unique and likable. So what's your take on the new Indian Scout Sport? Which is your favorite variant among all the variants on sale? Would you still invest in a big performance cruiser? Do let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Please ride safe, stay safe.